I'm a former education analyst who worked specifically in school rankings, and next year for kindergarten, I'm sending my son to our inbounds low-ranked public school, and here's why. Number one is all the studies, research, and data that show that the elementary school a student attends is not tied to future success. Factors that do heavily influence future success at the elementary school age are home environment, family attitude towards education, parent socioeconomic status, community support, and a handful of socio-emotional skills. Reason number two is these school rankings aren't telling me anything about the quality of education my son is receiving or the quality of the school. I believe this for a few reasons. The first one being that school rankings factor heavily these standardized test scores. Not only is the US the only country in the developed world that uses standardized tests in the way that we do, we know from decades of data collection and research that these standardized test scores are not telling us about the quality of education our kids are receiving. They're telling us about the number of affluent, white, native English speakers. Another reason is the fine print. When I'm reading the fine print on some of these rankings, they're using data from the 2020-21 school year and the 2021-2022 school year. First of all, what do we remember about that time? Peak COVID. Tests were being administered at home, and it was a complete S show. Of students in the system went missing during those years. The students being measured in those years will have graduated by the time my kid is even in first grade. Another reason is that they factor in student retention in some of these rankings. All that tells us is how transient the community is, which could be based on so many factors. Third is they use class size in a lot of the rankings, which doesn't really tell me anything about the quality of the education. It's telling me how the district and the state are allocating money. Of course, I care that my kids are going to get the supports that they need in school and that they're going to have the community. So the questions I'm asking are, what does the support staff look? How long has the principal been there? How long has the rest of the administration been at this school? What's the average teacher tenure? What kind of opportunities are there for parents to be involved or know what my kids are learning in class, and how can I support the teachers? And the last thing to keep in mind as we're learning about the schools around us is some of the loudest people about the quality of the schools do not have kids in those schools or even in the system. So dig a little deeper, ask some more questions when people are being loud about how bad that school is.